Wingspan Artists. My name is Miss Samantha, and today the theme of the lesson is butterflies. And we will be making a lovely butterfly dynamic painting, as well as a puppet that you can play around with that's made out of a toilet paper roll and some buttons. So I teach Wingspan classes for visual arts in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and I'm very excited to come to you in your home. Butterflies are very important to me because it's spring. If you look out the window, you might even see a butterfly if you're lucky. And I love butterflies because I'm actually making a book about butterflies and moths. So I will show you some pictures. I think if you look up close to butterflies or moths or really any bugs, they can be so detailed and so beautiful and special. So I love miniature things and making them big. And I think it's very important not to overlook them. Also, do you know the theme of Wingspan is a butterfly? You might have seen it. And wingspan actually means like how far the wings go. So if you measure this distance between the wings, that is their wingspan. And it's kind of a symbol for how far can you go in your life, and especially with the arts, like how great can you act and dance and do art, and you only know if you try, and even if you fail, you only get better and better and better, and your wingspan is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, to begin, these are the materials that you will need. Let me read them off. You will need paper. Painting paper is best. Instruction paper for this, so just something thick. Scissors, paint supplies. For this one, you could probably get away with using watercolor or any other like paint you have, tempera, and I'm just going to use watercolor for that. Glue, not a glue stick, but probably the glue that you squeeze. A toilet paper roll, a pencil. These are buttons, which I think are nice and optional. If you happen to have googly eyes, awesome. If not, no problem, we can paint it. But perhaps stickers, pom-poms, rhinestones, anything you have that would seem like it would be nice to decorate. And I know all my students just have a lot of things that they're always like showing off. If they have like a tiny little stone or bead or rhinestone, that might be nice to add and put all your treasures onto this guy. So I'm going to show you the materials if you want to pause it and have a look. There we go. Okay, so to begin, the butterfly. It is very easy. Sometimes I ask kids, how many wings does a butterfly have? What do you think? Let's see if you remember. You would not believe how many times I hear the answer 2, which is understandable. Some bugs like bees, I actually do think have 2 wings, but then if you look closely, they have 4. So butterflies are the same way. And to break it down, there are just 8 steps. And I will demonstrate drawing. This is super easy. Any age can do this, so I just simplified it a lot, but you can go as detailed and as articulate if you want, and I'm going to draw it again. But 1, the head. 2, the body. 3, wing. 4, 5, 6, 4 wings. And then the antenna. So let me draw that again on paper. I think that's very nice to make it pretty big because you can play with scale in artwork, and it's fun to take something that's very, very tiny and perhaps draw it big, 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 bigger than life. Or it's fun to take something very big and draw it super small. I know a lot of my students like to draw really, really small, and it's just so interesting because some kids also like to take the biggest paper they can find and like take cardboard or whatever they can get their hands on and just add everything, and it's really amazing to observe. I'm more of the small side, so it's always a challenge to draw big, but for this one, I think you're gonna wanna try to take up the whole page. So, okay, I am going to draw out the butterfly, and you are going to do your best in terms of drawing the shapes. It does not have to be perfect, and you might want to do it in pencil first. So first the head. It can even be a heart if you would like. Then we are going to do the body. There we go. If you want to be really fancy, you can take this and If you notice a butterfly, kind of like a caterpillar that it came from, it has some stripes on the body, just some texture. So you might want to go around and make like kind of little happy faces or just lines all the way down this butterfly. So I will do that. You can also make up your own pattern because this can be abstract. And abstract means if something does not look real or perfect. And none of my artwork looks perfect, and I don't think any of your artwork should necessarily look perfect because this is not a photograph. This is something that comes from your mind, and you are children and so imaginative, and I want to see how you think, not how something really looks. Otherwise, I would just look at a photograph, but sorry for that diversion. And so 1 is the head, 2 is the body, 3 is the wings, and that might have been a little hard, but basically it's like a triangle with kind of a crackery corner on the side. I don't know how to describe it. So it can also just be like a triangle with a curved end like that. But let's see, I'm going to make a line here, do a squiggly line, and then make a line here. Does that make sense? Cool. But once again, it can just be a curved line on the edge as well. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 2 wings left because a butterfly does not have 2 wings. It has 4 wings. And so this one, just whatever shape you can do. You can make it wiggly, you can make it more curved. The funny thing about butterflies, as I showed you, is they're all different. And sometimes you might even see a butterfly that has a broken wing. Some butterflies have very, very curvy, wavy wings like the ocean, and some are just super straight. So there's really no right or wrong, as usual. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more steps. What are we missing? The antenna. And there. So there's also a lot of other parts about the butterfly. Butterflies have this cute little tongue thing that they kind of stick out and use to slurp up pollen like a straw. That's very interesting. So I encourage you to do more butterfly research. But for the sake of this, let's give it some heart eyes. Make it a happy butterfly. Maybe give it a nose. And those are all the 8 things that you really need. Now, my students sometimes like to do 4 different wings. Sometimes they like to put their favorite things in their wings. You can create a pattern, which just means that you repeat shapes. But what I did for this, I guess I made it a little realistic and a little abstract, is if you look at butterflies, they kind of have these veins. They kind of look like leaf wings. So you know how a leaf, if you look closely, it has all these lines? Butterfly wings are the same way. So if you start with an oval and then make lines coming out of the oval, I think that's a good way to get a basic design. So I'll do it again over here. You make an oval. Oops, Sharpie's running out. And then you create lines coming from the oval. That way, it's kind of like a coloring sheet that you can just color in. A blue morpho butterfly, which I believe I showed you. Let me go grab. This butterfly, if you look closely, if you look up blue morpho butterfly, they have very curvy ends and also very veiny leaf-like wings. So this would be like that. You can do polka dots. You can just do a star in the center. You are the artist. I don't care. But I think you should try to make something that you would like to look at, because butterflies are a symbol of spring, and maybe make something that you would like to hang from your window. If you want to be fancy, you can even hang it the opposite way, so maybe you don't see it, but perhaps someone who can see your window can see it, if that's an option. But yeah, so just make something that makes you happy to look at. Or if you really like science, perhaps you can look up pictures of butterflies and really look at it and try to get really detailed. If you had the opportunity, perhaps some of you did, to raise a butterfly where you get a little caterpillar and maybe watch it grow into a butterfly. Oops, those are usually orange butterflies or painted lady butterflies. So you can look at that and maybe pick your favorite butterfly colors. So there's many options. But this is when the paint comes in. So if you did this in pencil, I would suggest going over it in black. Sorry, I should have said a black marker or just a black paint. But I think it would look great if you make it black. Or you don't have to. But now is the time where we start to paint it in. So I will get my paint supplies. I've been having a great time watercoloring during this time, and I always try to keep my palette clean, but honestly, there's really no point because I just always keep mixing colors and mixing colors. So let's see, I like the color pink, so I think for all of these, I'm going to make it pink for all the little ovals. And the thing about watercolor is it's gonna dry like a little bit lighter than you paint. So don't be afraid to put too much on. And I've been doing a lot of watercoloring during this interesting time at home. So I've learned a lot of tricks. And to be honest, I don't love watercolor. Oh, you can't even see it. I used to not love watercolor because it was always so messy. And you know when you do the watercolor and it just like drips down, and sometimes it looks like there's drops on your watercolor, and it's just very frustrating. So I would not enjoy that. I'm going to perhaps add some blue on some of these shapes. But I realized that watercolor you can actually really control if you control how much water you do. So this, I'm not using too much water. I'm just kind of dipping my brush a little bit in the water, and then I'm going in with the colors. And let's see, what's another color I can do? Maybe green. I can put some green here. You can try to do the same color in all of the wings to make it a little more symmetrical, which means that it looks the same on both sides. I think it kind of looks like a stained glass butterfly. But let me show you an example where you use a lot of water. If you really, this is my water cup, if you dip the brush in water, and then maybe just add like a little bit of green. I don't know, sometimes it can be very messy and like it can drip, or it can go outside where you want it to, which is very frustrating. So don't see over here, it's kind of dripping out. So that's when perhaps I used too much water and not enough of the color. So just be gentle, and you might want to perhaps take your brush and maybe paint on scrap pieces of paper, or just take your brush and tap it against something before so the water doesn't overflow. And there you are. And for my little book, I like to make inspirational quotes on the bottom. So maybe you want to write something. Maybe you can write hope. I think that is a important message, something to hold on to during this time. So I think I'm just gonna write hope. You can write your name, you can write peace. Butterflies are also a symbol of change, and I'm sure you know why. Because they're caterpillars and they change into these beautiful butterflies. And all of you also change so much. I've already seen it, even with my students from January until March 13th. They really, really change throughout the year, and their artwork changes, their personality changes. I've changed so much, so it's nice to remember that lots of things change in life, and that can be beautiful, which is why we're doing the butterfly. So let's see. I don't want to bore you with all my painting, but I'm just going to pick maybe one more color and just fill it in. But you get the idea. And let me show you one technique that we can maybe do. If you want to have kind of like a crazy butterfly, you want to add more water. That's one way to get kind of a crazy effect. So this is called wet on wet, so I will demonstrate this on another piece of paper. But if you take the paper and just put lots of water on it before, and then you take your paint, there's water, you can kind of control it. Let's see, so it does drip, but it looks kind of like a galaxy or a planet, and basically all the colors will like swirl into this one shape. I don't know if that's clear to you, but it just looks very fuzzy. I don't know. I encourage you to try it, because if you do that with one of your wing colors, you can paint the wing just with something very watery and then try to add different colors. And I don't know, it might look a little crazy, but it could be cool. So experiment with the watercolor. Like I said, I think if you're trying to get something more neat, do not use too much water. But if you're cool with something a little wild and free, then perhaps experiment, and maybe you do want to use a lot of water. And as I might have shown before, something fun to do is if you take this brush, dip it in water, dip it in the color you want, and what you have to do, be careful that this will not destroy anything in your house that needs to be kept perfectly white, but watercolor does come off, of course. So ask your parents, but you basically take the brush and tap it against your finger onto the paper. So let me show you. And do you see how this kind of has like a splatter effect? I feel like it looks better in person, but it's really fun to do. So just take a color you like, add a lot of water, and then go like this. And I just think it looks very cool as a background effect. Let me just do some more blue. Yeah, especially if you're kids, it's fun to have some polka dots in the background. All right, and let's see what else I can add. Maybe I can add a sun. If you like moths like me, you may notice I'm wearing a moth t-shirt. It's all dark, but these are actually little moths. Moths actually only live in the environment they like when it's dark out, so perhaps you would like to draw a little moon for a moth. And I think it's important when you paint to try not to have too much white space. I don't want this to be like a 2-minute painting that you say you're done with. Try to fill all the 8 steps that we did, and try to perhaps even do the background. So I did those splatter paint effects. I don't know how great that works. You might want to experiment with it first, but I don't know, maybe I want to take one color like yellow if I didn't do the sun, or if I want to make the sun seem more important and just paint yellow around everything. And if you wait for the paint to dry, see, you can see that it goes over the splatter paint and it doesn't look bad. So it's up to you, but I think a white background can be kind of boring, and nothing really in nature is just like white, pure white anyway. The sky is blue, you can do blue, but nothing really is just plain white. So I think it's nice, and it will really make your picture pop if you add the background. So there's that. I will let you finish it. And sometimes it's nice to sign your name, because you know what, you're growing up, you're changing like the butterfly, and you're going to want to remember that you did this, maybe how old you are. So I can write my name here, or I can write my name on the back. Even if your butterfly is clearly yours, because the teacher doesn't need to remember it's yours, I think it's nice to just write your name, because you're an artist and you want to have record of your artwork. And so those are my initials. And also, maybe I want to write my age, so let's pretend I'm 8. Write 8, but I know any age can do this, whether you are 4 to 40, and I think it will look really cool each time. So you might want to write how old it is, because I was actually looking at some of my artwork from when I was a kid, and it's so funny, and you really, really want to save it because you can see how much you've grown over the years. So that is number one, the painting. I hope you enjoy that. And number two is this little creature. What should we name him? Let's name him Sammy. I always name all of my things. And to do step one, we have to paint the toilet paper roll. So any paint should be fine. I already painted mine, this gold I had, but if you use watercolor, maybe do a darker color. And let's see. Over here, I used googly eyes for the eyes, but let's pretend you don't have googly eyes. I'm just going to paint the eyes. And I'm going to probably use a darker color. If you want to do a fancy eye with like color than the black part, that's cool too. But I think here I'm just going to do maybe 2 dots and just a happy face. Ta-da! Looks funny. If I want to add eyelashes, I can. There we go. If I want to add a nose, why not? Very cute. Yeah, and you can add perhaps polka dots if you want to, or stripes. Maybe I will add some stripes on this one, kind of like a skirt, but really whatever you want. And maybe I'll add some polka dots here. And I said that if you have googly eyes, you can use them. So let me just show you what that would look like. Tiny little box of some eyeballs that I have. My family hates me because whenever I make examples for projects, I leave googly eyes everywhere on my floor and it just looks very creepy. So don't do that. So let's see. Sometimes it's fun to do 2 different eyes shapes or the same. Let's see what we have. I have 1 big eye, 1 small eye, and then 1 yellow eye. Let's see, what would you do? Maybe I will do the big eye and the small eye. Blah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Those 2. So I would just dip those in glue and then put them on. With the glue that you can use, you can squirt it, but I find that very hard. So what I did was I just poured a little bit onto a bigger surface. You can use like the top of something. I just used a little paper. So you really just need the smallest amount, but I find that's easier. So if you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you can just dip it right in. Otherwise, perhaps you can use a brush, a popsicle stick, a toothpick, whatever, but art is messy, so embrace the process. And here's my popsicle stick, my puppet person. So I would just dip the eyeball right on there, and then I will take my other eye, and after dipping it in glue, I will place him on here. It might be a good idea just to draw out the eyes first anyway. So you want to let this dry, and the guy, this shape is kind of round, so it's not super flat. So leave it to dry, press it down, give it some space. And for the nose, if you have like a pom-pom, I think that could look really cute. If you have a sticker or a rhinestone, let's see what I have. I found maybe a button. Maybe I'll give him a little button nose. So here's a little button I found from a sewing kit. I'm just going to dip my button in the glue and place him on here. Buttons are also a little tricky because some of them are not flat, so make sure you have a button with a flat back. But there's that. And then for the mouth, let's see what I did. This one I just left it like it is. I might not like that black mouth. I might redo that to make it red once it dries, but let's see. Okay, so what do we have to do now? We need the wings. So to do the wings, you guys should be experts in wings. Basically, we need 4 wings. Oops. And we can make them attached or separate, but I would say the best way to do it would be to draw out the little butterfly and then cut them out afterwards. So let's do that. So we want to draw a butterfly that's like this size. So perhaps I will paint it. We will make just a little butterfly head, little butterfly body. Can you see that? Yeah. And what we want to do is make the 4 wings. And these do not have to be perfect, but let's see. For this one, maybe I'll just do wings like this. See that? And things like that. Like that. You should do this in pencil to practice or marker, but I just want you to see it. Not all the wings may come out perfectly the same size. That's okay. That's why you can draw it on one side and then perhaps cut out and show the other, but let's say this is good enough for me because I know nothing in nature is perfect. And then I'm going to cut it out. If I'm doing colored paper, I can just cut it out. If I'm using white paper, you know, maybe I want to paint the wings a little bit first. So I'm going to paint the wings like a deep, deep blue. And you know what, for this one, maybe I will paint the wings all like a different color. So what goes good with blue? Maybe I will do this magenta-y color, which is kind of like a purplish red. I don't know how you would describe it. And remember, you might not want to use too much water, but try to fill in the lines. It's okay if you go outside because you're going to be cutting them, but see how there I missed some with the blue, so I'll go back, fix that. And what's another color? Perhaps green. And try to be as creative as you can. This is not science class, so you don't have to make it like exactly a real butterfly. You can use your imagination and maybe paint rainbows in the butterflies or stars. Sometimes your teachers don't like if you do that, but I think it's cool. And we don't have to worry about antennas for this little one. So there we go. And when that is pretty much dry, or if you're just using construction paper, you are going to cut it out. Ideally, if you have these 2 shapes together, you are going to cut that out, and then we are going to have to attach it to the back. And for the back, I think I might have used tape for this one. I know I'm gonna use glue for you guys. Glue will work. If you have tape and you don't care because we don't see it, it doesn't matter, you can tape it in the back, but definitely not necessary. The glue from before will be fine. And as you can see, I added some buttons and I added some polka dot patterns. So maybe I do want to add a little design. Maybe instead of polka dots, should I do like a heart perhaps? Maybe one I'll do a heart, I'll do a triangle, maybe just different shapes I can think of. What's another shape? A square or a diamond. I don't know. It can really be anything. Or maybe I want to do that thing with the lines again that I did before where I take the brush and just make like veins, kind of like a leaf around the shape as we did over here around the oval. But it's going to be as simple, as complicated. Oh my gosh, I'm using this music stand as an easel. It's not the best, but it's what I have. Yeah, it can be as complicated or as simple as you want, but make it your own because you are the artist. I know you are very special and original. Do not copy your friends, although sometimes people do the same thing, and it's usually not exactly the same, but try to think of your own idea. And then we are going to cut this out. And let me just grab my scissors. Okay, so remember, you want the 2 of these attached, so it's easy to cut out. You might want to turn your paper as you're cutting it or get someone to help you because cutting round things is very difficult, but the more you do it, the more you'll practice. So now that I'm here, you kind of want to cut like a straight line. It can go into the body a little bit. I'll show you what I'm doing. this is what I have. So don't worry if there's some white space because we're going to be gluing that over here. So that's one that I have. And then the other wings I will cut out. And feel free to add some sequins or stickers to these wings. I know some of you might have some special things you want to add. Okay, so do you see how I left like a little bit of white space? Try to do that if you can. So here are the wings. They're not perfectly even. If you want to be super careful, and let's say that bothers you, it doesn't bother me, you can maybe take one wing that you do and place it on another piece of paper and you can trace around it, but honestly, I don't mind, so it's okay. And then I'm just going to have to take the wings and glue them on, oops, here in a way that it stays. So I think it would be best if I take the glue and put it in the white space and then just press it down so that it stays like that. Cool? So for this, you can obviously use your finger if you're fine getting messy. I think I'm gonna use an old brush. And I'm just gonna take some some glue on the brush and just glue, be generous, use a lot of glue. Glue on the white spot, not on the wings, but in front of it, like that. You see the glue. So use a lot, not like a lot. Don't make a mess, but don't use just a tiny bit because you really want it to stick. So here's the glue. And then I'm taking the back of this thing and I'm just placing it on the back. So if this is the back, I would be placing it like that. If that makes sense. So here it is. And I'm just going to place it over here. And then I'm going to press down so that it sticks. I know this looks really silly. You can make it a little more polished, perhaps if you do two eyes that are the same, but I like art that looks a little funny. I want art that makes you smile. So yeah, this actually works really well. If you hold it for like 10 seconds, it should be dry. Ta-da! And now we do the other one. All we do is we take glue right outside of the wings as we did before. So I'm going to take the glue, put it right here, and we are just going to press it down. Okay. Ta-da! There's that. It looks kind of silly. I know, maybe this one was rushed for the video, but I think it's really cute. And you can put it like over your fingers and use it as a puppet. You would be surprised. There's a lot of things you can make from the toilet paper rolls, and maybe if you can use your imagination, you can think of other animals or bugs to make. Like, imagine if we took two little triangles and put them on the top and then maybe made like a little tail. What would that be? A cat or a dog. So see, perhaps you want to make more butterflies or more little puppets, and you can maybe make a puppet show for your family or for yourself. I used to play with my dolls all the time and make little plays. So yeah, these are two friends, Sammy, maybe Howie. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know if you see me next year what you think their name should be. But whenever I make a creature, I always name it. So this is our guy. This is our butterfly painting that I hope you put on your wall or your window for the spring. And thank you so much for joining me. I think butterflies are amazing. And what I did for my book was I thought moths are pretty amazing too, because this is an Atlas moth. Look it up. It's like the biggest moth you'll ever see, and it is so beautiful. So after I've been working on this book and drawing a lot of butterflies, I've been noticing like how beautiful bugs are. Normally I would ask you guys, raise your hand if you think bugs are gross. I would probably raise my hand at your age. But sometimes if you really look at something like a ladybug or a dragonfly or even a bee if you don't get too close, or a cockroach, it's really very beautiful. And all of the insects have something in common, so just to give you something creepy to leave with, maybe next time you see a bug, just look at it just a little close and maybe draw it or paint it and make it bigger. So that's all for now. I hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.